A very good evening to everyone present here. The effect of mental health are experienced in every aspect of our lives. Our mood, physical health, and social connections help us cope better with adverse and unexpected hurdles. Together, they contribute to our sense of well being and our mental health. By taking a proactive stance of improving, maintaining, and nurturing our mental health, we can ensure that we live healthy, productive, and meaningful lives. So, today, this next episode of the Fireside Chat brought to you by the School of Business Mody University will help you understand better the concepts of mental well being and identify its benefits. And today we have with us someone who is a trainer and mental health practitioner with more than 16 years of rich work experience across various sectors, educational institutions of various geographies. She is passionate about empowering people to communicate better, be future skill ready, and improve well being. She has curated programs for children and adult population. She is the founding partner of Carpediem EdPsych Consultancy. She has served as the Chief Impact Officer and HOD training at Drishti, Mumbai. She has been a visiting faculty at the University of Mumbai. A bachelor from Lady Shriram College, University of Delhi, MBA from Goa Institute of Management, and Almana from MICA. We have with us Miss Vasundhara Kaul. Hello, Vasundhara ma'am, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pallavi. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, my first question to you would be very basic. Why is it important to talk about mental health?
So, thank you, Pallavi.
Thank you,
It's nice to be here, and it's nice to be talking about something so close to my heart on International Persons for Disability Day, 3rd of December. So
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
essentially, we are talking about people with differences, with difficulties, and it's a good time to talk about mental health as well. I think COVID times more than anything else have really emphasized the need for amongst everyone. First it became a fad that everyone was talking about mental health, and everyone was talking about me being burnt out and things like that at the beginning of COVID when we were going through all lockdown. And slowly we realized that there is this need for conversations to happen within schools, within colleges, within institutions, within organizations, because more than just physical health, mental health and mental well-being is definitely impacting the way we function, the way we work, the way we think, the way we react and respond to our relationships. So the more conversations we can have around this, the better for all of us, because like you and I, and we happen to be the alumni from the same college, so that's
Yes,
really,
ma'am.
really nice. We are comfortable talking about the fact that मुझे बुखार हो गया, मुझे खांसी है, मुझे ये है, मुझे वो है, everything to do with the physical health, right? I don't shy away from the fact that I have fever and I want to take leave today, but I'm not okay today. Can I apply for leave when I'm not feeling mentally okay? Right? What is my boss going to think? What are my colleagues going to think? Is the first thought that is going to come. What is family going to think? What if my mom calls up and I've had this conversation very often with my mother, and she says, okay, why did you not go to work today? If I tell her I didn't feel like going, she's like, what is that? What do you mean by you don't feel like going to work? Like there has to be a reason, right? And then the next question is going to be, "Acha, bukhar to nahi hai, gala to nahi kharab hai, pet to nahi kharab hai, XYZ," and all of that, and all the questions are more of the physical. So I feel one of the clear reasons that you do need to talk about mental health and mental well-being is very clearly that, and I've seen this in the last so many years that I've been interacting with different populations, that it's not as if people don't want help. It's not as if people don't want to get help. It's not as if people don't want to give help, right? There are so many questions around the mental well-being space and around mental health that you just find it easier to shove it under the carpet and say, okay, I should not go wrong. I should not, do something wrong. I should not be saying the wrong thing. I know my friend needs help, but what if something that I say is going to be on the contrary, So therefore, it's better to just leave it. वो ठीक हो जाएगी खुद. Okay, the person is going to just get better on their own and just get stronger on their own. So the sense of acceptance, the fact that if we talk more, it becomes easier for everyone to have these conversations, and therefore everyone to accept mental well-being and mental health as as if we were accepting physical health and other conditions. So that would be my largest piece. And at a absolutely societal and community level, I think the more normal these conversations are, the more aware and knowledgeable we get, because then, it's not as if it's my understanding. So I think disability is X. Okay, and I have that understanding. That understanding could be incorrect, could be incomplete, and all my actions are based on that understanding. If we are discussing it, and it's on platforms like this that we discuss these and clarify thoughts, is that then people know what action to take. So I'm aware, I accept, and then I know what action to take. And that would be my take on why you should be discussing this in the first place.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely. I mean, we do not have a problem when we say that, as you said, when we say that, I'm not feeling very well. And the second question is related to your physical health. Nobody asks you, how are you feeling here? So, yes, absolutely, ma'am.
Correct.
So, ma'am, so I understand that everybody has mental health issues, or for everyone, irrespective of the gender, every person needs to have a solid mental status. But do you think there are some exclusive challenges that a woman professional or a woman faces when it comes to mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if one were to go by research, there are multiple ways in which I could answer this question. The first being at an absolutely, logical thinking level, where we all know that at an absolute physical level, there is a difference between a man and a woman. We are wired differently. We react differently. We react differently to the same situation. You and I could be facing a similar situation, and a male friend of us could be facing a similar situation. His response would be more externalized. My response would be more internalized, right? The problem is always with me. Right. As far as the boy is concerned, the problem is always with the outside world, and this is what research is telling you. It is not anything otherwise, right? So that is one. And if you were to go by pure statistics, I think it was somewhere around 2017 that even the president of the country said that India was headed towards mental health, pandemic. We entered into another pandemic before we got talking about mental health. But around the same time, research told us that 14% of Indians had some mental illness, mental disorder, mental health issues, concerns of various degrees and status. Now, what also is important to understand is that mental health in itself is an involuntary action. It is an involuntary psychological behavior or disorder, and which is away from what you may call the norm, right? Culturally, and even as from a developmental standpoint. So given that you do have differences between men and women, it happens in the mental well-being space as well. So data is telling you that mental health issues like anxiety, depression, like basic burnout is up to 3 times more in women than that is true for men. And with the men, it will mostly be, substance abuse and things like that. So issues related to that. Not for once am I saying that men don't go through depression or men don't have anxiety. But what I'm saying is that data is telling you that. Culturally, if we were to look at India, I think I was talking to this friend of mine a couple of days ago, and we were discussing how people pleasing our culture is. So the girl is brought into an Indian household, and she believes that she has to be a people pleaser. Okay, and this happens in the most educated of households. This happens in the rural, urban populations. You don't differentiate in the populations, right? We are expected to be this perfect, virtuous girl, and you have to be good to your brother, to your sister, to your sibling, to your chacha, to your mama, to your mother, to your father. As you grow older, then you get married, you are going into another household. The expectation set is that everyone around me has to be happy with, and if I were to just visualize and think, how many people can actually be happy with another individual under any circumstances, right? If you were to just think around you and saying, are you happy with everyone around in this world? Do you like when you meet, right? Do you like every neighbor of yours? No, right? So how is it possible that this one woman can carry the burden of having to please everyone? And that is largely what kind of extrapolates and leads on to all your stresses and strains, right? So it's absolutely okay for me to do an MBA and spend 2 years of hard work clearing all those assignments, and then one fine day someone else comes and tells me that, "Nahi, you shouldn't do your job any longer because the house needs you." Right? I agree, the house needs you. I agree, you're the only one who can bear a child. Nature is not going to change, right? But can families change around? Can husbands support? Can families support more? Can I learn to ask for more help? It's as simple as that, right? Ask and you shall receive. But we sometimes feel, if I ask, what's my husband going to think? What's my mother-in-law going to think? What's my mother going to think? My mother may be sitting 2,000 miles away, but what is she going to think that I made my husband sweep and swab in the lockdown? What is so-and-so family member going to think of XYZ, right? So there's this entire burden that I keep carrying. And it's that entire burden which I think all women carry. Not for once am I saying that men don't carry their burdens. They have their own set of burdens, right? But very specific to the culture, very specific to our gender, we do need to learn how to ask for help. We do need to learn how to build our own identities, because and it's not about, I know the next question that will be there in everyone's head, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but
No, no,
I'm very
ma'am,
passionate
absolutely fine. Yeah,
about this. So I do want to bring this next piece in as well, that
yeah.
and I've been through that battle, right? I've been through that battle of doing a very, very lucrative job, taking a sabbatical for motherhood, wanting to get back into earning myself again, and finding it very, very difficult to say that, okay, a regular salary is not coming in, now my husband has to transfer money into my account so that I can spend. It's a very, very difficult speed breaker, or whatever thinking process to get over. When you get used to a salary, when you get used to earning, when you want to move beyond that and you have to get dependent again, that's one speed breaker. Okay. And that can lead to a lot of stress and strain. You could be a fantastically performing member, and the stress and strain of saying, I need to get back home because I have these XYZ other responsibilities, right? So feeling guilty at work, oh, I'm leaving at 6 instead of 6:30. And I'm leaving at 6 so that I can make it back at 7, so that I can get everything in order for my family, etc., etc. Right? So it's also that balance between wanting to be financially independent and otherwise. But the one thing that I want everyone to understand is, don't give up on your sense of identity. It doesn't matter whether you earn 1 rupee or 50 rupees, or you contribute to 100 rupees in the household, or 1 lakh per month in the household. Doesn't matter. Okay. What matters is that you are contributing. One way or the other, you are contributing, and therefore that sense of identity is something that you cannot lose. It is that battle between that sense of identity and the people pleasing is where we get into this, the terrible depression, anxiety, burnout, and all that happens. And more often than not, most cases are because of that. Of course, you can have a whole lot of other reasons, but yes, I hope I have answered your question.
Yes,
Palvi.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I was just thinking about what you said, and there's this thing. So at the airport or wherever you go, I mean, if you're in a mall, so the baby's changing room is in the woman's washroom. It is not inside the men's washroom. So that says it all. I
Correct.
mean, a baby is both the parents' responsibility, but the changing room is only for the in the area where the women have to, the
Yeah,
woman can only
and
take
why?
care of the child. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
why? So, and sometimes, because we don't question these practices, is why we are overburdening ourselves with
Yeah,
this. And then
absolutely.
you get into this rut of saying that, I do want to want to be independent. I do want to be
Mm,
contributing. I do want to be working. But then when I'm not able to do that, and I always say this to everyone, if you've taken a
mm,
sabbatical, you've taken it because of your own reasons. If you've taken a
mm,
career switch, you've taken a career break, you have the right to come back, and you must come back, right? So you've taken it
mm,
for your own reasons. In that space that you've taken that sabbatical or you've taken that career switch, be happy with that decision, be content with that decision, and then
mm,
take an alternative route or whatever, a switch
mm,
or coming back, requalifying yourself, whatever there is. Because
mm,
once you spend time and energy on yourself, you can't let it go, right?
mm,
So
mm.
that's the piece which is very
Yes,
critical.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. This feels very satisfying.
Yeah.
Okay, so ma'am, how do we actually make people aware, and what are the actions that could be taken to, overcome these issues and also the taboos around it?
So, I like to first start by congratulating the Modi School of Business for even taking this step, right?
Thank you.
It
Yes.
is actions like these which count, because if you are putting out a platform, and it doesn't matter whether you start with 20 people knowing about this, 200 people
Mm,
knowing about this, or 2,000 people knowing about it. It's like how I tell this story every time when I talk about inclusion or awareness, etc., that
mm,
it starts with that one person around you,
mm,
right?
mm, mm,
So for those of you who are familiar with the starfish story, and you're familiar with that boy who was throwing back the starfish into the water, and this adult came along and said that what difference is it going to make, because there are tens and thousands of starfish, so there's tens and thousands of people you have to help. There are 14% of the Indian population that requires help and support, but if you can start with the person around you. And the boy had said, it makes a difference to that one starfish I throw back. So it
mm,
makes a difference to that one person that you talk to. So for everyone who's attending today, for everyone who sees this talk, if they can go back and influence 5 other people, 10 other people, and 15 other people, and say, I've heard this has made sense to me, do you know about it? That's your starting point number one. Talk,
mm,
talk,
mm,
talk. But yes, you have
mm,
to be informed enough to talk. And therefore, again, institutions, organizations, educational institutions have to build it into their curriculums, right? That you are
mm,
talking about mental well-being, you're talking about disabilities, because all of this is very much part of society. And all our
mm,
educational institutions are that representation of society, because everyone trained in an educational institution is going to go back and give back to society.
mm,
So it
mm,
has to become part of curriculums of educational institutions, whether it's schools, colleges, higher education institutions, etc.
mm,
And don't I always say, don't leave out the children. So very often when dinner party conversations happen or dinner conversations happen, and you're discussing Sushant Singh, car suicide, or you're discussing something serious like that, suddenly you're like, shh,
mm,
children are around,
mm,
don't talk, right?
mm,
I'm saying
mm.
talk, because if you talk, you might just save a life. My son was 6 years old when I first spoke to him about suicide, because there was a suicide which had happened in our colony. And I felt it was important for him to hear it from me than from anyone else, and all the misnomer and incorrect information that may go along with a situation like this. So
Mm,
you can't leave out the children. You have to do age appropriate conversations, but
mm,
never leave out the children. So if it's parents who are listening in, if it's you have nephews, nieces, etc., do
mm,
age appropriate conversation, but mental well-being has to be so normalized. uh,
mm,
and it can only be normalized if our children, if it is a dinner party conversation, or if it is a dinner
mm,
table conversation, right?
mm,
So if it
mm,
is that, that means your children are very much part of it, right? And your
mm,
children
mm,
understand. So your children, so I'll tell you another incident as to what impact it makes if you are discussing these things at home, and if it's
mm,
absolutely normal at home. So it was grade 5. My son was in grade 5, and he'd been hearing special needs, inclusion, what is the courses you teach, etc., etc. And I used to always answer all his questions, right? So one day he came back from school and he said that, Mama, I was looking at the attendance register, and there was this one friend of mine who sits right next to me, and a bracket में ना SEN लिखा था. So SEN is special education needs, na. This is grade 5. Okay. And the point is, because there were conversations happening at home, there was an understanding that was there. And I told him, I said, yes, absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you can't help or you can't support, etc. And that particular child and my son became the best of friends. Learning disability diagnosis, but became the best of friends. My son understood that, okay, there are ways in which he could help his friend. There are ways in which he could support. So if it starts there, you don't have to start too late. Right? That's what you need to do. And if you are part of an organization, if there are employees, and we're doing that as part of Carpediem a lot now, where we are reaching out, because the last 6 out of our 8 workshops were for schools and organizations, where we were doing anxiety and burnout as a topic, right? And all these workshops came to us from the organization of the school. Right? It was not as if we had gone specifically saying this is the topic that needs to be done. They came back and said, we need to discuss anxiety, we need to discuss burnout. So as part of employee programs, as part of employee programs in educational institutions, in corporates, in NGOs, everywhere, it has to be that the employee knows where to go to, whom to go to. It's okay if I don't have an in-house system. Is there a tie-up? Are there names? Are there professional names that I know where I can at least dial in, ask, is there a helpline number, something? Can I go to HR? What is the policy? All of that has to be out in the open. And to all the youngsters, I say, use social media. Don't make mental well-being a fad, which sometimes it does become, okay, that everyone does hashtag mental health care. Understand more about it. And then do hashtag mental health care, because you do need to promote that. The more popular that hashtag becomes, or any of these related hashtags become, the more influence we can create as a society, right? Because then again, it's a normal conversation. Just as I can talk about my lipstick, what were the clothes I wore for a party, what were the other things I was doing on a particular day, I should be able to say, today I was not okay. Right? So I should be able to use social media to the fullest. And something again which comes to me as being a practitioner, and I've made this into a habit, is keep checking in on people that matter, and check in more on people that may not be so close to you, but they are in your periphery and they might need help. Right? As teachers and educators, sometimes the quietest child, oh, how well behaved, but sometimes that child could require help, maybe quiet for a very different reason, not because they are well behaved, right? So checking in, are we okay? Do you need anything? Doesn't mean that, like wo bichara syndrome nahi hai, matlab, wo ye nahi hai ki I am, I am less than anyone if I have a mental health condition. I am, I'm not strong enough. I'm not, like very often you will have typical, language in India is also very biased, right? You'll say things like, oh, you are so weak. I don't behave like a woman, right? So those strong statements. Why is it weak? Why is it weak to say I'm emotional? Why is it weak to say that, I'm not feeling good today, I want to cry, I'm angry, I'm this and that, right? So again, it should be okay if I check in on someone, and I should make that a practice. If I make that a practice, I might just check in time and be able to save many lives. And I'm not saying that everyone has to be at an extreme step level, but just make someone's life more beautiful, right? And read more, research more, know more. Don't go just sharing around information, but if you know, then definitely share. The other part that happens, Pallavi, is, and I'm going to end at that, is that, humko pata chal gaya, this set of people who've heard this talk know. But if I'm talking about it, I am not part of the janta, right? I am like these few people who are talking about it, and the few people who understand. So because I want to fit in,
Hmm.
I again go back and say, chalo theek hai, mujhe pata hai na. That doesn't
Hmm.
help.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Again, it has to be, if I know, I must spread. So that's the only way awareness can be brought about.
Hmm.
Everyone in my kitty has to know about the talk today. If
Hmm.
this talk is not helpful, if you've heard a few things that you don't agree to or you agree with, etc., go back, comment, share, find out more, research more, and all of that is what I leave
Hmm.
everyone off with.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so that'll be my take
Absolutely.
on this.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
So
hope
it's
that's
very,
been.
very important to talk about it. Very, very important to make it a regular course of talk. I mean, we do not have to put that inverted commas when we are talking about mental health. Let it be a very organic kind of talk. जैसे हम लोग fever के बारे में बात करते हैं या so yes, yes, this is something that we all need to practice for sure. But
Yeah,
I
and
come from, I mean, I have been trained properly. If I say, if I come from premier
correct.
institutes, but even when I get to know that, okay, this person is having some kind of mental illness, I have this extra care. I'll go to the person and talk to the person. I think that is not needed. So
Hmm.
I'll keep this in mind for sure. Yes.
So the thing is that every human being
Hmm.
brings with themselves their own set of identity, their own set of
Absolutely.
being, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that extra empathy, sympathy is not required,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Even if you just understand and you understand what are the needs, yes, some bit of
Hmm.
scaffolding might be required for you to be able to open out. Wood is definitely required, but
Hmm.
it doesn't need to be that maybe you're providing the wrong help, just by being really kind,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So you need to
Hmm.
know what
Absolutely.
is the extent of help and where and how it needs to be required. So yeah.
Oof. I feel that this goes on. Okay. So now that we are running little, I mean, we do have time, and I think a lot of students want to ask a lot of questions. So we already have a question. So Vasundhara, I'll read it out for you. So this is
Yeah.
Shivangi. Uh,
Okay.
so her question is not only the family members, but a lot of mental health patients, especially women, shy away from admitting this. How do we make them understand that it is absolutely okay to admit it? Something that we have already
Okay.
been talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So usually, the way I would do it is I always bring across the physical health analogy, right? That
Hmm.
when you go to when you feel गला में कुछ खिचखिच है, फीवर चढ़ने वाला है या फीवर चढ़ गया है, sore throat है, ear pain है, etc., you will try your home remedies for a little while. Okay, then you will go to a doctor. The doctor is going to tell you 3 days tak wait karo. It'll become fine. If it doesn't become fine, we'll do a blood test. The blood test may tell you it's
Hmm.
dengue, chikungunya, something. Then
Hmm.
then that course of action is going to happen, right? So you're going to go on a journey to say that, okay, now I know that it is chikungunya, so I'm going to do this. I know it is dengue, I'm going to do this. It's viral fever. I'll just wait and watch, right?
Hmm.
So you have
Hmm.
this entire process, and I think in the last 2 years we've been well trained in how the virus works, right? So you
Hmm.
have this
Hmm.
entire
Hmm.
regimen on the
Hmm.
physical health side, right?
Hmm.
As soon
Hmm.
as you face a physical health concern,
Hmm.
now, if you were to ask a parent, if you were to ask the neighbor, if you were to ask anyone who's not seeking help,
Hmm.
okay, would your action be the same? अगर डॉक्टर कहता appendicitis का ऑपरेशन कल करना है, तो आप कहते
Hmm.
नहीं, मैं तो 4 महीने बाद वेट करूंगा. I will wait and watch, let
Hmm.
things transpire, and then I will
Hmm.
do the appendicitis operation. Okay.
Never
If
happens.
my viral fever is getting worse, my throat infection is getting bad, I can't talk,
Hmm.
my tonsillitis is grown, will I wait for an eternity before I'm going to start antibiotics?
Hmm.
Right? More
Hmm.
often than not, in fact, never will you get an affirmative answer. Everyone is going to say that, nahi, I will definitely go to a doctor. I will go to a doctor of some kind, family doctor, specialist, this, that, and the other is a different story, or I will take some action, right? You
Hmm.
will take
Hmm.
action. No one can say they will take no action. They'll just sit and wait and watch, right?
Hmm.
So if
Hmm.
that is the concern, if that is the answer that you have in a physical health condition, the
Hmm.
same should be your answer when you are not feeling okay mentally,
Hmm. Hmm.
because that's also part of your body and your body system, right?
Hmm.
So it has
Hmm.
to be exactly the same. Now, the way it works on the mental health side is that, again, there is this confusion that people have. They're saying, okay, should I go to a psychologist? Should I go to a therapist? Should I go to a
Mm.
psychiatrist? Should
Mm,
I go
yes.
to XYZ and all the others that everyone's telling me about? Okay. So the answer to that again would be getting in, figuring out what you know about each of these people. That is also an awareness drive in itself, that what does a psychiatrist do, what does a psychologist do. But my
Mm,
take would
mm,
be, go to a qualified person, definitely go to a professional. Because if say, and very often it happens, if a psychiatrist feels that a particular patient will benefit more from therapy and medication is not required, a professional psychiatrist will always say that go for therapy, I'll not give you medicine, right? And
mm,
vice
mm,
versa is also true. If a therapist, a trained a regular therapist professional, knows that this is a case which requires medical attention and requires, there is always cross referring, right?
mm,
But
mm,
the intent would always be that go to a professional.
mm,
If you are family and you're wanting to take someone to that professional, then
mm,
you take this physical analogy route and get them to at least go for that first consultation, right?
mm,
Usually
mm,
when you go in for that first consultation, the professional would be able to handle the rest of the conversation, right?
mm, mm,
You in your own capacity may badly handle a conversation, so I'm not going
mm,
to recommend that. But at
mm,
least ensure that you've done that first leg of the step, where you've
mm,
ensured that the person has reached a professional
mm,
conversation, and then
mm,
leave it to the professional to
mm,
take it and take over from there. That is
mm.
where the professional is going to take over. Again, just to add one little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
it's not really part of the answer, but
Mm,
I'm going to complete the analogy. So
mm,
just as you do a blood test
mm, mm,
in the case of a physical health condition, you do
mm,
a psychological or psychoeducational assessment in the case of a mental health concern, right? A
mm,
standardized assessment in the same manner as a blood test would tell you chikungunya, etc., helps
mm,
the professional also identify the specific concerns that a individual, a child or an adult is going through. And that is
mm,
when diagnosis becomes easier. So very often we are like, "Arey, we don't want to go to a specialist because वो assessment करवाएगा." वो assessment इसीलिए
mm,
करवा रहा है so that you are not doing broad spectrum antibiotic.
mm,
Okay, you are being
mm,
able to cut down and say, okay, now I'm going to do this because this is the
mm,
exact concern and this is the exact issue. So
mm.
doing an assessment, and I'm going to borrow your lines here, Pallavi, doing an assessment does not tell anyone in this world कि आप पागल हैं.
Mm, mm,
Okay, a
mm,
mental health concern does not tell you that you are mad. Okay,
mm,
that
mm,
is the cultural miscommunication that we've been going through years, and that
mm,
is the understanding that we have to have, that
mm,
it is an involuntary psychological condition that a person is going through, and therefore requisite steps must be taken.
mm,
That's the best help that you can give to the person.
mm,
None of us or any of us who are not qualified should not
mm,
attempt our quack
mm,
options.
mm, mm,
Our duty is to ensure that the person reaches the professional help.
mm, mm, mm. So I think so. I would put it across as that we become the key to the door, and we open the door and let the person reach the right, take the right way,
Absolutely.
and yeah. So
Absolutely.
we
And you are
we
not
yeah,
doing a misdeed. You are not saying
yeah.
कि अरे तुम में problem है, तो you
Hmm.
are being the key to the door. That's very beautifully
Hmm.
put, Pallavi,
Hmm.
and I totally
Thank you.
agree. Yeah.
Yes. So we already have the second question, and this one is Devyani. So she wants to
Okay.
know that mental health issues come with baggage. These are
Mm-hmm.
not only social baggage. Even in
Mm-hmm.
otherwise educated, aware liberal families, mental health
Mm-hmm.
is looked at as a weak personalities trait that could be taken care of if the person gets emotionally strong. How do
Mm-hmm.
we handle this? So I am an ideal case of that. So I have a little bit of problem. I mean, I am diagnosed with OCD, but not very severe.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
I was told that this is something that you have to make yourself. You are too liberal, and you are giving yourself a lot of lift. This is what I was told. So stop giving yourself so much of importance, and stop giving your these issues so much of importance. It will be get sorted out. I mean, you just need to be stronger. So this happens, and I come from a educated family, and they are quite liberal. But when it comes to mental health or something of this sort, ये बात हो जाती है कि तुम बहुत वीक हो रहे हो, तुम अपने आप को लिफ्ट दे रहे हो, तुम अपने आप को बहुत ढीला छोड़ रहे हो, थोड़ा स्ट्रांग
Correct.
बनाओ. So how do we actually? It's a very interesting question, and it is quite, I could relate to it. So how do we handle that?
I can relate to it myself because I think we've all been brought up in a generation where, culturally, we are born fighters, right? As a nation, we are born fighters. We are taught that by, fight against all odds, achieve this, achieve that. Kuch bhi problem ho, uske against fight karo. So we are a resilient lot, which is good, right? Which helps us bounce back from a lot of situations. The difference is that if you do have a diagnosed condition, it's not going to go away, right? The person can be trained, can undergo therapy, can be trained to ensure. So there are two things. One, it is not going to go away. That doesn't mean that the person is absolutely dysfunctional and nothing is going to be possible. So as a mother, as a family, as a relative, etc., you're worried that अरे बाकी लोगों को पता चल जाएगा, so they'll think that so and so cannot achieve anything because उसको तो कुछ तो problem है. एक तो this कुछ तो business is very confusing. Okay, the कुछ तो has no definition, has no explanation, but it is some problem that someone has, and everyone is assuming that it is a problem which is going to make the person either not achieve in life or not be able to do anything in life, etc., etc. So because you're assuming that, you are wanting to ensure that everything is hunky dory and jaisa chal raha hai waisa chalne do, and keep pushing so that you are resilient and you're going to eventually make it. What you have to remember, like I was saying, is a diagnosed condition is never going to go away. So if you're diagnosed with OCD, you're diagnosed with dyslexia, you're diagnosed with autism, you're diagnosed with ADHD, or any other or any disability, disorder, mental health illness or concern, it doesn't go away, right? It doesn't go away forever or whatever. What happens is that you can undergo therapy. You if required, undergo medication in certain severe mental health or psychological disorders, and ensure that you are able to function well in society, in your job or in your employment or in your family, etc. And you learn to take care of your own concerns, right? So you have a better understanding to say, oh, I have this concern, this suits me, this does not suit me, I'm going to be able to function like this, I'm not going to be able to function like this, right? So you find your own methods. So if there's acceptance based on the awareness and based on the understanding of a given condition, the family, the friends, the employees, your colleagues, everyone around can have a better understanding to say, acha, theek hai, this is what Vasundhara's needs are, this is what Pallavi's needs are, and accordingly react and respond, right? So again, coming back, sorry, I may be repeating myself, but like no. This question has hit a chord. But this thing about strong, women have to be strong, people in India have to be strong, and anything which is not normal is not strong enough, right? And that is why you tend to hide your conditions. That is why you tend to not have these conversations. And also, I can share something personal here, like you, Pallavi. Now I joke about this as an adult, but I sometimes realize, as a child, when we used to fall, my mother, we would always say, "Arey, usme kya hai? What happened? Nothing happened. What were you doing?" Right? So now as an adult, I'm thinking, what was I doing? I too fell, na? You should have asked me कि मुझे चोट लगी, क्या हुआ? Did I fall because I was giddy? Did I fall because I tripped, etc.? But she was like, no, don't cry. You are fine. Be strong. So the same thing goes for everything around us. Like that be strong element. But yes, you have to be strong for the people around you who might be having a concern. For yourself, if you develop a mental health concern, it requires that resilience, but it doesn't require you to be so strong कि उसको carpet के नीचे बंद करके like a pigeon sit in one side and imagine कि मुझे नहीं दिख रहा है, किसी और को नहीं दिख रहा है, and सब कुछ खुद ठीक हो जाएगा. It's not going to happen. A fever sometimes goes okay on its own, but when it doesn't go okay on its own, you need help, right? The same thing. A little bit of stress, a little bit of anxiety becomes okay. When that same anxiety becomes an anxiety disorder, you do need help, and it's okay to take that help. It's just a different kind of professional help, something that we may not have
Absolutely.
been used to, something that we may not have been exposed to as young children. But it's time that I think we expose our children and adults to that information. Yeah, so I hope that
Absolutely.
answers the question. For I've forgotten the name, but Divyani.
Divyani. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I hope that answers it for Divyani.
Yes, I think because it was a very well-rounded answer. Because I could
Yeah,
relate to it. I could imagine myself going to a person and talking about it, a qualified person talking about and seeking help. I mean, it is high time that we talk about it. It is high time
yeah,
that we normalize it.
correct.
It is high time that, as you also said, it is high time that institutions like educational institutions bring it to the forefront.
Absolutely. Because otherwise, like in the case of physical health, you will be going to tantrics and babas and quacks.
Hmm.
And like in the case of physical health, it will only be detrimental. So, goes without saying that you do need the right kind of support system, so that you have the strength within you to seek help, and then you seek help from the right system as well.
I think there are two things that have brought in some positive change. I think now that celebrities are coming out and talking about it, बहुत लोग जो influence होते हैं तो वो उनको लगता है this is trending, so they are also coming out and talking about it more openly. So one thing, I think this is something that has changed the scenario a bit. And the second is people have become more empathetic after the pandemic. क्योंकि बहुत लोग who did not know that they are having any stress, अब जब वो लोग घर पे रहते हैं या बहुत ज्यादा वर्किंग आवर्स हो गया, नाउ दे हैव बिकम वेरी एम्पैथेटिक कि उनको लगने लगा कि अच्छा ये प्रॉब्लम होती है. People are facing problems. I have just started facing it now, but this problem existed and there are a lot of people who are already facing it. Probably उनका time ज़्यादा हो गया, but this exists. So I think these two
Correct. And
things
if you
have,
were to, just do like Google on COVID and mental health, there are tons of articles across the world which is telling you that both ways, right? One, it has brought mental health to the forefront, which is good. It is ensuring that conversations like this, platforms like this do get created. The second is that it is also causing a lot of issues, right? So the isolation, the lack of social interaction, the your, like you said, the long working hours, etc., is causing a lot of issues. And people who are getting into their first jobs, starting now, coming from a work from home or a study at home environment to a partly work from home, etc., they're going to be a absolute different dynamics of the behavioral issues, of psychological issues that are going to come up, because environments are going to change around us, right? There could be organizations which are still on a work from home or a shared work from home and a split face to face, etc. So the same it goes without saying that we'll need it now more than any time else, Pallavi, I think you've...
No, I've come back. There was some
Yeah.
network issue. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, I missed you for the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, no. So all I was saying was that, COVID gave us time to pause. So therefore, it kind of told us that these conversations are important. It also has and will lead to a lot of additional concerns. The number of people who are going to get diagnosed or are getting diagnosed because of various reasons, right? It could be because of the isolation that you've had, because of the situations you've had. You've been through grief. You have been through grief. And again, like anything else, you've not got counseled for it. So again, that's been shoved under the carpet. So, a lot of us have lost loved ones. We may or may not have got support after losing a loved one. So, or the right kind of support that we required at that time. So more than any time else, now is the time that you do need to understand these concerns, and again, if you were to go back to your previous question about women, the same thing goes true as well, right? You've had women working from home with their child in the background, child also studying in the background. It's added to a whole dimension of stress in itself.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
suddenly worried that you are on a Zoom call and you'll have your child running around.
Hmm.
Just
Hmm.
imagine
Hmm.
the triggers that can be there under the circumstances.
Absolutely. I was reading an article. I mean, I'll just add. So I was reading this article, and the title was so catchy. The title said, "Woman Locked, LOCKED, and Down, DOWN."
Yeah,
And it's a self-explanatory title, and it says it
correct.
all.
Correct.
So yes, absolutely. I mean, the times are very weird, and I think it has become even more important for us to talk about it,
Yeah,
because we do not know what happens in the next 6 months. Where are we? But it's high time that we start communicating. We start talking about things more openly, and we leave the
correct.
social barriers behind.
Correct.
So it was such an enriching experience, Vasundhara. I mean, I do not have words, ma'am, but I just want to tell you thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think these 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes were one of the best 50 minutes of my academic career included, and in the last 10 years for sure. So it was really enriching, and I think everybody here enjoyed it as much as I did. And we would just want you to I mean, some wrapping words for the session.
Thank you, Palvi. I must thank everyone at the School of Business, Mody University, because, you know, to have, I would say, and be candid enough to say, to have the guts to bring something to the forefront like this and talk about it out in the open and say, we're supporting this in itself is one big step
Mm.
that one can take, right? And, one of my favorite quotes about mental health, etc., is from this person called Glenn Close. And though I don't, I'm not a person who remembers quotes verbatim, but then the crux is that she says that mental health definitely needs more sunshine and more candid conversations. So thank you
Mm.
so much for this very, very candid conversation. And I do hope that a lot more of such conversations can take place from everyone who's listening in. And my I can't really say that it is a request, but I'm going to actually urge everyone to go and talk about this in the
Mm.
next 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, to as many people as you can. And if you want to learn more, know more, etc., seek that knowledge out as well.
Mm.
Understand a little more about that, because sometimes you might need help, sometimes a loved one might need help, a colleague or an ex colleague or a friend might need help. And even
Mm.
if no one needs help, right,
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
telling you, it's just going to make us better human beings to be able to
Mm.
just accept the fact that everyone
Mm.
comes in wired differently. And
Mm.
therefore because of that difference, we might sometimes not see them in the same way, culturally fitting or systemically fitting. But
Mm.
if we were to just open our eyes and our hearts, we will definitely find everyone fitting in there. So I'll just leave
Absolutely.
everyone off with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I would just want to add, so there's this poet called Faiz Ahmad Faiz, and he has written these just two words, "Tum bhi ho aur hum bhi hain." So, and it
Beautiful.
says, yeah. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot. And I think everybody enjoyed it. And I think everybody has something to think about. I mean, a lot of food for thought, and a lot of clarity, and a lot of, emotional outbursts. I mean, I am feeling that. I can tell you that I am feeling that. And this feels so refreshing. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time and everything that you did today. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you, Pallavi, for having me, uh, and kudos and congratulations once again, and looking forward to many, many more such
Our
conversations.
pleasure. Thank you
Yeah,
so much, ma'am.
yeah. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Bye, ma'am. Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too. Bye bye.
Thank you.